This is Providence Television International, the game changer.
Welcome to the newspaper analysis on Providence Television International. I am Ugbebo Ikekwa. To analyze the papers today with me is the Chief Executive Officer, Providence Television International, Dr. Emmanuel Egariba. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure of mine to be here. Thank you so much.
And so before we delve into the newspaper analysis proper, let us take this commercial.
Attention please. Professor Johnson Averese Egoma, the world-acclaimed public finance and management consultant, has come out with a new set of books for the special interest of teachers and students of economics, sociology, management, psychology, banking and finance, as well as public servants and the general public. The books include 1. Principles of Public Administration in Context, cover price 8,000 Naira. 2. Rich Nation, Poor People, 5,000 Naira. 3. Stress, the Silent Killer, Detection and Management, 4,500 Naira. 4. The Anatomy of Corruption in Emerging Democracies, 5,500 Naira. And 5. Comparative Public Administration, Meaning, Approaches and Issues, 4,000 Naira. Order your copies direct from the author on the WhatsApp number 0803-462-1513. The number again, 0803-462-1513. Hurry now, while stocks last.
The second coming of Donald Trump heralded a trade war across nations. And little did we know that it will get to us in Nigeria. Let us go to the front page of the Vanguard newspapers, where we have tariff war. U.S. slams Nigeria over import ban on 25 items. Says Nigeria's policies create trade barriers that lead to loss of revenue for U.S. businesses. Before we analyze this proper, something special actually did happen today, some years ago.
Well, yes, I must go back into history and back into time. On this day, way back in 2003, that's some 22 years ago, you remember that Baghdad, that great Asian city, the capital of Iraq, went on fire. You know, the skies over Baghdad were illuminated. That's because the U.S.-led forces on this day, back in 2003, captured Iraq completely. And several weeks after the commencement of the war, it was a conflict designed to remove President Saddam Hussein. You remember, that's him over there. Saddam Hussein, the president, and that was for his supposed possession of weapons of mass destruction, which eventually we got to know that this was not proven. However, Saddam Hussein was assassinated. It was executed, actually, and that ended this era. So today, we should be happy there's relative peace in that part of the world, except that the war is still raging in the Middle East. So between Israel and Hamas. So we are hoping that things will just normalize in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I remember there were reactions during that incident where some individuals came out to say that the United States was infringing on the sovereign rights of a nation.
Yes, that happened. It even happened during the Gulf War, you remember, which was much earlier. And that was because, again, supposedly Iraq went into Kuwait, and the U.S. forces, the coalition forces actually had to remove the Iraqi forces away from Kuwait. And I think Kuwait remains indebted to the U.S. up to this day. But yes, infringement is very relative when you talk about international relations. We don't want to go into that now because we have a program up our sleeve.
Yes. For those of you who are just joining in, let us still go back to the front page of the Vanguard newspapers. Tariff war. U.S. slams Nigeria over import ban on 25 items. Says Nigeria's policies create trade barriers that lead to loss of revenue for U.S. businesses.
One thing is obvious. U.S. obviously is going through crisis, and so they have to mop up. Mopping up means that you have to remove all these barriers, particularly from countries in the African continent. I believe that there's a trade war going on, and I understand that the federal government has said, look, I mean, we must look elsewhere to do trade. There must be strong partnership with other countries around the world. But it's been a long-standing relationship between the U.S. and Nigeria. It's just that Trump has his own agenda completely. Otherwise, I mean, they shouldn't call for this kind of embargo. However, Nigeria, I mean, they should teach Nigeria some lesson, by the way. They should open up your frontiers to very many countries. If it closes here, then you go to other areas. I mean, China, for instance, is up and coming. In fact, almost going to overtake the U.S. now in terms of commerce and trade. Yes, there are other good partners, even in the Western world. So the U.S., yes, it's painful because it's going to reverberate. There are many countries who depend on U.S. for international trade. So it's going to be, as I said yesterday on one of our programs, there will be shivers down the spines of very many African countries, and Nigeria incidentally happens to be one of them. But we don't pray for the continuity of this because, see, it might lead us into what we call depression, economically speaking. And I hope that the federal government will be up on its game to be able to tide over this, quite frankly. There are so many things now that Nigeria is facing, security issues and all of that. So if we add this to it, it's going to be a very serious problem.
All right. Are you of the point of view that the present trade war initiated by the United States is a kind of ploy to cripple businesses across the world?
Not across the world as a fact, but mainly across Africa. Don't forget, Africa is not in the right page with the United States because they believe that, there's wrong leadership here and there and things like that. So they're trying to cripple the economy of most African countries. Yes, and the reasons are obvious. So, but I think that on the long run is to shore up the economic strength of the United States. Don't forget that Nigeria is one of the biggest trade partners when it comes to Africa. So with this, Nigeria obviously is on the front burner. I know there are many other countries in Africa, but by way of ratio, the potential is not quite as big when you consider Nigeria. And I believe that very soon there may be a roundtable conference to tide over all of this. Because, yes, Nigeria may find it difficult to keep properly into this trade war. But what does it matter to the United States? They have their doors open to other areas. And that is why I think that there must be strength in unity. I mean, what I'm talking about now is the African OAU, for instance, or AU, African Unity. If they come together properly, they can call off the bluff of the United States. But what is the strength of AU, for example? What's their strength? I mean, it's like everyone for himself and God for us all. Normal cliche. But that I think is what they should be talking about now. When some of these superpowers come smoking, they should come together and speak with one voice. But that's not happening now.
Yes, I think because referring to that your statement that there should be that unity
and cohesion. Yes.
And cohesion. It will be part of our news item later today. Niger Republic has cut off French as its national, language. It is now Hausa. And so, just like you said, they've called the bluff. Some other countries, Burkina Faso has done that too.
Yeah, you call it the bluff. Yes. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's. You just mentioned the Niger Republic now, and Burkina Faso. I mean, those Sahel states, they have removed themselves from ECOWAS.
Exactly.
So ECOWAS obviously has been weakened. So when you talk of trade war, for instance, ECOWAS does not even come into the reckoning. We are talking about African unity. That's where all the action is. Okay? Yeah.
All right. Well, talking about unity, it is quite a surprise that some political parties in Nigeria are presently facing serious crisis, that have even gone as far as being settled in court. Well, the front page of the Nigerian News Direct Labour Party crisis worsens as Ajero mobilizes NLC for nationwide takeover of offices.
Well, this is not quite as prominent as the other headline news we have there, but this is also very important. I mean, maybe that's why you picked on it. Yes, I do agree that there are problems within the Labour Party. Okay, I mean, the thing went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said no. What's his name now? The chairman.
Ajero.
No, not Ajero.
Okay, yes.
Abure,
yeah.
you are no longer the chairman. A stamp has been put on that, and Labour is saying, look, this is our party, for instance, so we have a stake in what is going in the party. But it's a shame, really, that Labour Party, one of the strong voices in the opposition, is going down the drain. That's why I'm not surprised that the Arrowhead, Peter Obi, for instance, is trying to move out of Labour Party. I mean, he must consider some of these discrepancies, by the way. So, but let's see how it goes. I mean, Labour Party, do we forbid having a party called, strictly speaking now, because what I see now is just a contraption. This is not, I mean, strictly speaking, it's not a party for the labor movement. They should have a party of their own. Okay? That is that's my advice.
All right. We've always talked about brain drain on this station. We've never ever been in agreement as in what we talk about it. We've never ever seen it as a positive thing. The front page of The Guardian, 16,000 doctors exit in 7 years is a fiscal loss. And this is coming from the federal government.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked and surprised. That why must it be a fiscal thing? Fiscal is monetary.
Yes.
This is beyond monetary evaluation. I mean, it borders on the health of the nation. And yeah, the federal government is talking about fiscal, whatever. So, but I think that, well, you talked about brain drain. It's not the first time. Back in the 80s, I think, and early 90s, we had brain drain, doctors moving to Saudi Arabia. But it was a very small number of professionals. Now we have a huge, it's a deluge. People, professionals, not just doctors, engineers, computer people, pharmacists, they are moving out in droves. But it's just that doctors are peculiar. All right. So, but, I mean, it's scandalous when you have 16,000 doctors, and the figure might just be more. Yes. And it's increasing on a daily basis. So very soon we'll be hitting the 20,000 mark.
Exactly.
From one country. That is a scandal. I mean, for goodness sake. And I believe that things must be done urgently to keep these people back. First of all, health institutions must be what they are supposed to be. Health institutions. I mean, go to some of our teaching hospitals, they are skeletons of their old form. So we need to up our game in that direction. The training of our doctors, I don't think that is a problem. Because the same doctors we train here go abroad and they excel. But I'm talking of basic things like equipment and things like that. Even drugs. Where are the drugs in the hospitals? Can't find them. Okay? So, but worse still, the professors we have, I've joined the train. Yeah, this exit train. Some of our professors. We had a doctor here the other day, and he said if you go to some hospital, the departments, most of the departments are virtually empty because the heads of departments have gone abroad. Okay? And the number of private hospitals is increasing almost exponentially. What does that tell you? It tells you that a lot of people, doctors, are no longer interested in private in public work. Yes, but they are interested in private practice because on their own they can form a little outlet that has virtually everything. But that's everything we're talking about, just as a little community. We are talking about a whole country of 200 million people. All right? So what is our strength? I mean, in terms of medical facilities, I would say that the government must take a look at this. I said the other day, for instance, I think it was the World Kidney Day. Yes, and surprisingly, how many renal centers do we have? Yes. At the slightest opportunity, people go abroad for liver transplant. Whereas people have enough money, stolen away somewhere probably, to establish renal centers all across the country. And even some state governments, they have the potential, they have the capability to do that. But I think it's our priorities that have been wrongly placed. in this country, because the WHO number says specifically that you must have a ratio, a specific ratio, as to align with the WHO orientation. We haven't got to that place.
Okay.
Yes, and it is sad enough, very, very sad. The doctor ratio, the doctor-patient ratio is still very low in this country, very, very low indeed. And it's a sad thing because the population is increasing.
Yes.
It's increasing by the minute. Yes.
Well, quite a trending issue, the issue as regards security. Let us go down to the front page of the Tribune newspapers. Bandits have taken over 64 communities in Plateau. This is coming from Muftuan. And then we'll tie it to the next story, still on the front page of Tribune. Borno losing ground to Boko Haram. This is coming from Zulum. The issue of security.
If I were the editor, this would be the screaming headlines,
Exactly.
really, rather than the controversy between Ndume and
Yes.
the presidency. I mean, these are more vital and more important issues, by the way. Plateau State, Benue State, they used to be together, Benue, Plateau. Now the two states have been separated, but they have a common area now of conflict. But I heard only yesterday that the chief of army staff is planning to take many more troops to the areas. All right? And Ribadu, the NSA, said the other day that enough is enough
Yeah.
in this same zone of the country. And the question is, why can't the president declare a state of emergency?
Exactly.
Yes, because this is more than, I mean, obviously, people are being killed right, left, and center. And Zulu, I pity the professor. Professor Zulu, he has been crying. He didn't start crying today.
Yes.
He has been crying that, look, Borno State is going. And Borno State is a border area, all right, meaning there are serious incursions
Yes.
into Borno State. Over 60 communities.
64 communities.
64 communities have been taken over by bandits.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Hmm.
It's a lot. In an arid area. In other words, we must deploy all forces to be able to rout these people off the scene.
Okay.
But I want to say that it is essential that the president must declare state of emergency.
All right.
Yeah, if the constitution allows him to do that. And I think that this is more than a state of war,
Okay.
for example. So, and already people are saying it. Not from us now. I mean, if you go to the social media, it's replete with comments that instead of declaring a state of emergency in Rivers, why don't you declare a state of emergency
Yes.
in
Plateau.
these war zones?
Exactly, this war
Plateau,
zone.
Benue, and Borno, for example. The governor has been crying. I pity the man because he's helpless. He doesn't control the armed forces. The federal government does.
Exactly.
But part of his state has been carved away in favor of Boko Haram. What does that tell you? It means that the command structure has been weakened to a point where we can no longer hold the strands together.
All right. Some individuals have proposed that mercenaries, they are used in some countries, should be invited to Nigeria to fight the Boko Haram scourge. We've been talking about Boko Haram bandits for quite a long time, over 7 to 8 years now, and it seems to be worsening. The situation seems to be worsening on a daily basis. Are you in support of the fact that mercenaries should be invited?
A lot of experts have talked about that, so it shouldn't be coming from us, really. I mean, it's not the first time thing. Yes, if you can't handle the situation, bring in experts
Okay.
who can do that. But from my own point of view, I think the first thing to do is to up our game in terms of intelligence network. Because these people infiltrate into the country through our borders, and the borders are very porous. Now, when they come through the borders, they mix up with the people. I said it here some time ago. You can't tell the difference between a man from Niger or Chad and his counterparts or cousin from Katsina, Kano, for instance. They have the same stature, they speak the same language, the same religion, by the way. So it is intelligence that we must improve on, basically, so that we tackle the problem before it grows beyond what we can handle.
All right, and that's another problem that needs to be tackled before it grows beyond what we can handle. Let us still look at the front page of Tribune newspapers, where we have reps worry over food scarcity, rising prices.
I'm happy about this. Now they know what Nigerians have been saying. They are beginning to move out of their cocoon. Yes, and this is true. Now they're beginning to talk about it. But what is the solution? They can be part of the solution. Yes, because they can make laws, they can create a template for the president to address the issue more vigorously. They can do that. And I'm happy. You see, again, if you look at the chambers, if you look at the National Assembly, you will find that the House of Assembly is House of Representatives, is more vibrant, exceedingly more vibrant than the Senate, because there are more, well, in any case, that's true, younger people, there are many more younger people in the House of Reps, right? So they think more of some of these problems that we have at the national level. And that's true from their pronouncement. Now look at, they are talking about food prices now and rising cost of living, which they cannot hide away from, because obviously they are dependents. At a point in time, one must be tired. You're satisfying the yearnings of your dependents. A time must come when no, enough is enough. But that's what is happening in this country. And we are pretending as if the problem is not there. We are playing the ostrich. Yeah, we are pretending as if the problem is not there. And the problem is huge. It is huge. The problem of hunger in this country, it is huge. It is becoming unbearable. Yes. And this is where I think, I've often said it on this program, that the first port of call for emergency must be for hunger. Hunger, a hungry man is an angry man. Yes, I mean, that is obvious. So the government, first of all, must declare a state of emergency in food production. We are not doing that. We are not doing that. I proffered a solution some time ago. I think we must open up our borders, all right? But at the same time, we must address the security issue so that our farmers can go back to work. Exactly. They must go side by side. It's not enough to just open our borders. During the Eid festival, we were told that, food prices have come down considerably. But we're back to where we were before Eid. Okay? So it's a recurring problem. And I believe that, yes, it's not too much for government to declare a state of emergency on the food crisis. Yes.
Talking about recurring problems, the issue of individuals and even government parastatals and all that flouting the rule of law. Let us look at the front page of the Daily Sun. Court bars Rivers Sole Administrator from appointing local government bosses. The question arises, is he going to accept?
Well, if he doesn't accept, it means that he's going against the rule of law. And that's why people say that the appointment in itself was against the Constitution. And that's why I think some governors, I think, are in court. The sole administrator is not behaving like the sole administrator anymore. He's behaving like an emperor. Yeah. Yes. Sole authority in everything. I said it some time ago that out of the three institutions, he has two. He has the executive, he has the legislature. It's by a stroke of luck that he doesn't even want the judiciary. Okay, so, but that's not what it should be, really. You're supposed to go there, make sure that peace is restored, and then go out of the scene within 6 months. All right? But he's getting entrenched in the system. Exactly. And that's not too good. Yes. That's not too good for our democracy. It's not at all.
Well. Let us, still on this issue, the Punch newspaper's front page, 11 PDP governors urge Supreme Court to halt Rivers emergency rule.
Well, there must be prayers. Their prayers must be unveiled properly at the right time. Okay? But yes, I mean, they have looked at the Constitution, particularly the part of the Constitution that says, no, the president doesn't have the power. Section 305, for instance, very explicit on this. But the Supreme Court, it's not just a court to adjudicate, it's a court of policy. It's a policy-making court in the judicial system. So let's see how this plays out. Because at the end of the day, some people will heave a sigh of relief, obviously, that, yes, this contraption of sole administrator of a state has been wiped away. Some will even say, yes, okay, let us see how the combatants will have learned 1 or 2 lessons. 6 months. I'm sure they've spent close to 1 month now.
Exactly.
Yes, 5 months remaining. But it was an open-ended thing coming from the president, because it can be renewed.
Yes, it can.
Yes, depending on the mental state of the sets of combatants.
And like you said, the sole administrator is acting like he's been elected to be there for the next 4 years.
And he's
not doing things that...
It's not. It doesn't bother him. In fact, he's even saying that, oh no, he's going to appoint
Yes.
local government administrators.
Yes.
He doesn't have such powers under the law. He doesn't. Because the heads of the local governments are supposed to be political heads. And before he came in, they already moved to have election.
Yes.
Proper election into the councils in Rivers State. Now all that has been jettisoned. So we're back in the wrong order,
Yes.
for instance.
Well, in one of our programs upcoming, we hope to discuss this issue as regards flouting the law. We'll really dwell on it. That might be on the program, Thoughts and Visions. But then, keep an eye out for that discussion, as it is something that we really need to talk on. And as usual, a parting shot from the CEO of Providence Television International.
Well, the parting shot would be this. Some days ago, we were told that the president was out of the country to France, and even the vice president was out at the same time. What do we make of that? What do we make of that? The first two citizens of this country out of the country about the same time. Yes, the paper said it. So it's not as if it's coming from us.
Yeah.
It was obvious. It's a fact. We should avoid such things for the sake of peace and decency. Yes. If the president stays away, the vice president remains. In any case, the vice president was going to Senegal or somewhere. The foreign affairs minister could have gone there. Yes, that's what everybody's saying. The foreign affairs minister, we have a sitting foreign affairs minister who could easily have represented the federal government. So I just pray that we'll get it right one day, someday.
Exactly. And that is a major prayer from the station. That will definitely get it right in Nigeria. On this note, I want to say thanks for watching. Please stay tuned.